Nine before you start?
That button sticks.
Oh, it does. I'm laughing when we start because Calvin was just tapping his camera with his fist, and I said, oh boy, not a good sign when you're going to start a show and you have to hit the camera like kicking the old TV show. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever the case may be where you are. It's a beautiful sunshiny day in March of 2003, and we're praying for spring. We're doing this on a Friday morning, and hopefully by Sunday temperatures should be in the high 40s, maybe touching 50 degrees, and there will be hope to turn over a whole new segment of the North Country. We're at 82 Margaret Street in downtown Plattsburgh at the Art and Hobby Company. We've wanted to come here for a long time, and we were almost too late. John, get over here. John Allen, how are you?
Not bad. How are you?
We're pleased to meet you finally, and when I said we're almost too late, you're getting out of here.
Yeah, we're moving uptown. We're moving up
I
to
love it. Moving uptown.
moving up to Plattsburgh Plaza. We had to make the big move.
Well, that's great. You've been down here for how long?
4 years.
Well, when it's time, it's time.
Well,
And if you can't see the handwriting on the wall, you know.
We're kind of disappointed that we had to leave downtown. Downtown is a beautiful area, but we had to make the move. So come on up there and visit us.
This is a great old building. We love the old buildings down here. Every once in a while, when Calvin and I have nothing else to do, we just get a camera and walk around town.
Oh, the
and
architecture.
look at the buildings and then show that 5 years later and see what happened to downtown Plattsburgh. For example, by the time this is aired on the public access channels around the North Country, you will have moved and perhaps somebody else will come in here. But we love the old building. Look at this old brickwork. Probably dates back to the original structure right here on the wall.
I think it does. When we moved in, it was a solid plaster. And I sat there for 3 days chipping the plaster
come
off.
on, by
Oh yeah,
hand?
by hand.
Oh.
I took and chipped it all off. Took me, I think it was about 3 days. David Merkel loaned me his sandblaster, so I sandblasted most of the remainder off, and then I had to seal it. But yeah, I exposed it. I thought it would add to the flair of the place.
I'm guessing that brick wall was put up there in the 1800s sometime, perhaps. There were a lot of massive fires in downtown Plattsburgh in the 1800s, but a brick wall like that might have survived a fire if indeed this place did burn. But don't you wish you could close your eyes and see the guys putting that
Laying
up
the brick?
Yeah, laying the brick. That's wonderful.
Oh, it is beautiful.
So you didn't actually change the space that much in here when you moved in, did you?
Well, we laid a carpet. David had the place painted. I painted the ceiling blue because I was going to hang planes from it, make people feel like that they could see the sky. Opened the brick and tried to make it more of a hobby-ish, artsy kind of place.
Well, it's a hobbyist, artsy kind of place, and I'm sure your new space will be as well. Will that be bigger?
It's basically the same size.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose about 500 square feet. So it'll be about the same size. And
It'll be big enough to accommodate all those new customers, right?
yeah, more people that find me.
You know, we as you may know, we just did our 12th program with Ron Venn.
Oh, Ronnie.
We have done 12 programs with him, and the man is so interesting, creative, and amazing that we just keep going back and sitting at his kitchen table and look what he's made, or view the before and after pictures, photographs that he's done.
Yeah.
He's really found a niche for himself with those before and after photographs, and he's just a good guy.
He is. I keep telling him that he's got too much time.
Yeah,
he keeps
he
arguing.
really does. Now he's going to make another Lozier automobile. I'm not going to make two this time, just one, Gordy.
You're not supposed to tell people because then other people will want him to make.
Too late.
Too late.
The world already knows, but he's told us so many times about you and your friendship, and told us that we had to come down here and talk to you, and we finally got here.
Ronnie is a character. I admire him.
Aren't we all really?
Oh yeah, but he's special. He really is. He is gifted. He's funny. He's got an unusual sense of humor
Yeah.
for someone, and it's just, I really enjoy him.
You know, and it's a pleasure for Calvin and myself to be able to spotlight a personality like that, because, of course, we all appreciate him, but now a greater audience of at least 7 or 8 people who watch our program around the North Country have come to appreciate Ron Venn for all those qualities you've mentioned. But, you know, I told you before we started the camera today, I was noodling around on the internet and found so many John Allens, who spell their name the way you do, who are artists and magicians and creative people. And if they're not one of those, they're doctors. Yeah. And we had John Allen, well-known physician here in Plattsburgh, and you said, well, my daddy was one of those.
Yeah, my father was a doctor out of Greensboro, Vermont. He was a country doctor. He was in the military. And a lot of people have asked me, are you related to Dr. Allen? And I say, yes, I am, but not the one you think.
See, that was my first reaction. And Calvin said, I don't think so. I think he's from Vermont.
Yes, I'm from Greensboro, Vermont.
But who knows what connections there might have been in generations in the past.
Part of our family is here, buried in a couple of the cemeteries. So they did come over from Greensboro into this area. So they did settle here. So we probably are related somehow.
Wonderful. Have we whetted your appetite yet? We're going to stop the tape for a moment to make sure we've got something on there so far. We'll continue our program from the Art and Hobby Company in downtown Plattsburgh. Yeah, we got something on tape, I guess. Good, bad, or indifferent, we're here. I want to go back. We like to do a little historical perspective about you and your family. You said you were from Vermont. What town were you born in?
It's Greensboro. Greensboro, Vermont. 9 miles north of Hardwick. About the center of Vermont. It's in the Northeast Kingdom. Yeah.
That's the Northeast Kingdom is famous on both sides of the lake and around the world because it is a very special place, isn't it?
It is home. It will always be home. But I married a local girl, and that's why I'm here.
You know, you said your dad was in the service. Was he an Army doctor?
Yes. He was stationed all over the world. I was born in what they call khaki diapers.
I love it. I've never heard that before. That's a good one.
We traveled all over. In the military and the Army, you basically weren't in the same location for more than 2 years. I spent part of my time in Germany, Stuttgart and Schwäbisch Gmünd, England, Utah, Colorado, Georgia, Seneca Army Depot in Romulus, New York.
Oh my goodness!
That's where he passed away when we were stationed there, and I grew up, finished my grade school and my high school in Geneva, New York. That's where my mother remains today, but I always return to Vermont, to my home. When I was growing up, every summer I would go back to Vermont to work on the farm. I think it's a good upbringing. I do the chores and work the hay fields during the summer, and I can tell you stories on that.
Calvin and I are smiling because we've been down that road too. He was born and brought up on a farm and still lives in the same house after all these years. So, yeah, that's great. That's a good place to start.
It is. It just has a place that you will always hold in your heart.
You were telling me some things about your dad before we got here, and we can commiserate with that moving thing because my dad was a country preacher, and every few years you were uprooted. Calvin and I had a long discussion yesterday about the priests that move around, and they just get settled. You get to like your priest, and they're transferred somewhere else, and it's just the nature of the business, I guess. But Army brats.
Army brats.
And preachers' kids are somewhat in the same kettle. So you lived in a lot of places, but some kids adapt to that very well. I don't remember that as being a great trauma until we moved when I was like a freshman in high school. It was tough for me to leave Messina and move to Elwira. But as a little kid, every move was an adventure for me.
It was excitement.
Yeah.
You had to make, the thing that I found unusual is you had to make friends quickly.
Yeah.
Sometimes to the point where people were put off because you would talk very quickly. You would explain, you know, you're dealing with someone else in the military and they wanted to know what your rank of your father was and what his job was. And so you learned to talk very quickly and to lay the facts down very fast. And some people after the military are put off. They're like, my God, you know, slow down. I don't, you know. But when you're moving from place to place, you learn to make friends quickly, and because you're not going to see them after 2 years.
Yeah, well, you know, this is one of the strong features of having the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base here, because the people who came here assimilated themselves into the community very quickly. They joined they ran for the school board. The kids played sports. They were in clubs, and they made great athletic, musical, artistic contributions to the community.
Yes.
And that would recycle. And so we had this wonderful infusion of people coming in, which really added for many years. Your dad, you know, when we interview somebody, we like to try to find out where this creative spark came from. And your dad was a really fascinating, clever, creative person, wasn't he?
Yes. In fact, that's where I got my inspiration from to be an artist. My father, I remember when we were in Germany, he would paint on the windows the nativity scene for Christmas.
Isn't that amazing?
Using oil pastels. And he used to whittle. He was a surgeon. And
I love this part.
at the end of the night, when Dad would come home from work, he would sit in the kitchen and start whittling. He would make furniture, and he always incorporated the seashell on the furniture because my mother was born in Milford, Connecticut. My father was born in Greensboro on the farm, so he always had a horse. So on all the furniture, someplace there is a seashell and a horse, signifying the two.
And the coin.
And the coin. He would always put a silver dollar of the year that he did the piece, and it's embedded someplace inside the chair or the lowboy. He did a lot of things with his hands, to the point where my sister started writing a book. I don't know if she ever finished it. It was called Sawdust on the Kitchen Floor.
Oh, don't you love it?
Because
oh, that's beautiful. Come on, tell her we said she's got to get it done. Oh my,
he used
million
to,
seller already.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
and it was a story about the military life, sitting there and talking about the day's events, what I did wrong, and you know, and while he whittled, while she did the dishes.
I can see a movie.
I don't know if I can see a movie, but it was interesting. It was interesting.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Did your dad? So did he paint a lot, or did he just paint the windows?
He painted. He did a lot of drawings.
And you have some?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I don't have
wonderful.
them here, but I have some.
Someday I have to see him.
He did there's a story. There was a food sale, a bake sale that the officers' wives used to put on, and they always had my father do the drawing for the posters. Well, one time he had it. He had been too busy doing other things, so he did a drawing of all these monkeys selling baked goods. That was the last time they asked him to do a drawing showing the baked goods sale.
I love it.
So he did have a sense of
marvelous
humor.
sense of humor.
Yes, he did.
And it's great that the drawing, many of the drawings survived then.
Yes.
You have them, or your other family?
I have some. He did a lot of medical illustrations because he was a doctor.
Yeah.
And my niece is Shannon. Hopefully, is going to be going to UVM for school of medicine, and we gave her some of his medical drawings for her to hold on and pass down. So
That's wonderful.
keep it in the family.
That's absolutely wonderful. He made furniture.
Yeah.
Do you have some of that? I know you have a chair that's right behind Calvin. Come on over here and let's take a look at this chair. You thought this chair, as you told me before the cameras began to roll was made maybe in the 50s?
Yeah, it was in the late 50s. We were stationed in Tooele, Utah, southwest of Salt Lake City, when he finished it. This is my chair. Dad started when my mother told him she was with child. So it took him a little bit of time to finish it, but
About 9 months, right?
no, actually it took about 9 years. But it's all carved underneath and laid out, and if I can show you
yes.
I don't know how good your camera can zoom in on it, or let me explain. As I mentioned before, you have the horse, and the horse is down here. And if you turn around, and on the other side over here is a seashell indicating my mother being born in Milford. So on all pieces you will find a seashell and the horse. I don't know if you can get that.
Well, we certainly can try. And I was looking at this leather, and you said, look how thick this cowhide is.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you're going to wear holes in this unless you sit down with a dagger in your pocket.
No, you won't.
It may show signs of wear, but it probably won't wear out in your lifetime.
Well, it's almost 50 years old,
Yeah, think about it.
so it's taken a lot of abuse. A little sun wear here. But my father was 6'3",
He was.
and he built this for someone he figured was going to be tall, and I'm 6'5".
Isn't that beautiful? So it fits.
Oh,
Did he make furniture for sale or just for his own satisfaction?
Just for family. Just for the family. He made low boys, high boys, mirrors. He just kept working on something. Kept his hands going.
Isn't it? What a legacy, though. And how much of it still exists?
All of it. We have, all the children have furniture that he made.
Isn't that incredible?
So I have a brother and a sister, and we all have chairs and footstools, and
That's the way it ought to be, but seldom is, because people are so wonderful about taking things to the dump. I'm the opposite extreme, of course, and somebody told me yesterday, Gordy, you could never move. Based on what I know about your house, you could never move. And I can remember my dad, of course, was the same way, and I inherited that pack rat trait. And every time the moving company would come to move us, the guys would look in the house and groan.
yeah.
And workers would quit. Because, among other things, my dad just had many, many books.
Yeah.
And so I brought those books. But the creativity, now that we've given that idea how it trickles down from generation to generation, have you traced that back? Were any of his parents or grandparents or your mother's creative people? Do you know?
I don't really know that. You stumped me. I don't know if there were farmers, so they had to be artistic somehow. To maintain a farm, you had to.
Yeah, no question. Well, I hadn't thought about that till adulthood, and then I started looking through some of my dad's papers, and he loved to draw. He would love to doodle and draw, and in the fly leaves of his Bibles and his other books in his library, he would draw things as he was thinking, and I do the same, and have done it for years. So interesting, huh?
It is interesting.
Isn't that fantastic? So you decided fairly early that you wanted to get into that field? Drawing as a child all the time, or
yes.
What?
When I can remember, the first thing I can remember drawing was a car. I used
Airplane
to
for me.
Airplanes, cars, people. I would just draw in grade school. The back of heads, the kid in front of me, the teacher. But most of the time it was cars, because I was always infatuated. Some people
No wonder
like to.
you and Ron Venn get along.
Oh yeah.
He's a car freak too, and
Yeah.
always has been.
So that's how I got started, and I used to watch my father, and I guess I inherited that gene. I don't think it's a gene. I just think that it's practice. I think anybody can be an artist if they practice.
Well, yeah, but I think there's a predisposition there somewhere. I think it's I don't know if it's right brain or not, but I think there's a creativity gene, and it's bound to burst out somehow, no matter what you choose to do for a living. And many people paint and draw just for their own personal satisfaction.
Yeah, because it gives you something to focus on.
Yeah. But you actually went to art school.
Yes. I started at Johnson State College in Johnson, Vermont. I heard that they were going to have a Bachelor of Fine Arts program and started there and moved on once they said they weren't, and I transferred down to Rhode Island School of Design. I graduated there and continued and got my Master's of Fine Arts from Rhode Island. It's called RISD. Seth Goldenberg, I don't know if you know him. He's
The name is familiar.
He's a local artist. He's going there. He's I think he's a junior now. When a prospective student wants to go to RISD, a lot of times the school will have them meet with an alumni and just to get a feel for if they really should go there. Rhode Island School of Design is either number 1 or number 2, depending on if you went to Berkeley or not.
Okay.
One of the best art schools in the country. So I graduated from there and started working for a company called Lewis and Gilman out of Philadelphia, doing automotive advertising, illustration work for them. I always wanted to return back to Vermont, and a position opened up at the graphics department at the University of Vermont. And so I returned home to Vermont. And at the same time, they needed someone to teach students graphic arts. And so I started teaching at UVM. And I ran the graphics department and taught some of the students how to do layout work. I did that for 7, almost 8 years. And then met a young lady and moved over here.
And the rest is history, as they say.
History.
Is
Had
she
a son,
from?
bought a house.
Oh, is she from this area?
Yeah. Her maiden name is Nancy Papineau. Good woman.
That's wonderful. So you kind of settled down here, although your heart's still over there in the Northeast Kingdom, right?
Yeah. It always will be.
But you didn't originally intend. You originally intended to open an art store, right?
Well, actually, I intended to be an artist out of the house, and we lost all the art stores in town. They went out of business one by one, and so a lot of the artists came to me, and we got talking about opening an art store someplace in Plattsburgh, so we didn't have to go to Burlington, to Boudeliers, or to mail order, because you can't wait a week for a tube of red paint.
Yeah, right.
And so we started tossing around the idea, and we decided to open up an art store. And as I mentioned before, I was chipping away the plaster on the wall one night before we opened, and a friend of mine, Frank Berry, who was the head of the art and hobby department up at MJ Design after they closed, opened up the door and said, "How about bringing in some hobby?" So, we talked about it, and sure enough, we decided to bring in hobby supplies. And that's how we came up with the name Art and Hobby, because that's what we were. So
here you are 4 years later.
Yeah, I liked this building. The upstairs I used as a studio. I'm not going to take you up there because it's full of boxes. But for a while I was using it as a studio.
Yeah.
Made it very nice because I could come downstairs, grab a tube of paint, and go back upstairs. So I always had a good supply of art material here.
But now, so you're in this business, but what kind of artwork do you do, and do you sell it nationally, or how does that work?
Once again, it goes back to when I was a young boy. I used to draw cars, and I always loved cars. How I got started was I got caught sneaking into the tech building at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen is a large racetrack
sure.
south of Geneva, where I went to school. I was sneaking in to the tech building, and I'd been doing some drawings of some of the race cars. And, you know, while they were driving around and sitting there, and, well, I decided I was going to try and sneak in. So I took my camera and I took my sketchbook underneath my arm, and I walked up to this guard, and he's standing there, and I spoke a little German to him.
Oh boy!
You know, he's like asking me where are my credentials, and I'm nicht verstehen Dummkopf, you know, and I was really nailing him. And he didn't understand a word I said, so he said, "Oh well, go ahead," because he kept pointing towards the car behind the fence, saying it was in there. So I said, "Go ahead." So I walked in, and I walked up to the next security guard. Now this guy, he wasn't going to let me past. Another thing I did was I was showing the drawings that I did to this guy. And we get to the second one, and I'm trying to get through, and all of a sudden this voice comes out from behind me. "It's okay, he's with us." So the guy waved me on. I'm sitting there going, great! You know, so I take my little sketchbook and I put it on my arm, and I'm sneaking through, and all of a sudden I hear this voice go, "Wait a minute, come here, I want to see those." And I had no idea who this guy was. So
Going to jail. Here we go.
No, I'm sitting there going, "Oh, geez." So he's opening up, and he's looking through, and he's going, "These are really good. Who did this? Did you do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did this. I sat over here on top of this tower, and I was drawing this." And he said, "Wow, can you do more?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Well, come with me." So we walked into the tech building.
You're making this up.
This is straight true. Walked into the tech building, walked down the center aisle, and he perched me on a set of tires. And he sat there and said, "I want you to draw this car." It was Roger Penske, and it was the number 6 Sunoco, driven by Mark Donahue.
Isn't that amazing?
So I'm sitting there. I had no idea who this guy was.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there drawing. I'm like in heaven.
Of course.
Yeah, here I am. You know, these mechanics are working on the car. I'm seeing the engine. I'm drawing the engine. I'm drawing the mechanics. I'm drawing the driver. I had no idea this was Mark Donahue. You know, I didn't know who he was. I'm doing all these drawings, and people are walking by going, "Wow, that's really good. I'll give you $20 for that." And Mark Donahue would come over and he'd autograph it and say, $25, you know, and people were paying me for it. So I got done that evening, and I was getting ready to leave, and I was thanking everybody. And Roger said to me, "Go down to the main office building in Watkins Glen. I called up, and you've got credentials. So I want to see you here tomorrow doing the same thing." So next morning, I camped out down there, you know. So next morning, I get up, and I hitchhike downtown, and I got my credentials, and I go back up. Now I got the media credentials.
Cool now. You don't have to speak German at all.
I'm walking in the tech building, and I was starting to get introduced to people. And I'm 17 years old, and I'm meeting people like Nelson Piquet, Jackie Stewart.
Oh, Jackie Stewart.
I met Jackie Stewart, Nelson Piquet, Emerson Fittipaldi, Parnelli Jones. He drove Ford.
Just to drop a few names.
But I started meeting these people, and they got talking to me about automotive, you know, drawing the cars. And I was drawing all the other cars, and people were just enjoying it. And finally, as I was getting ready to leave, that was Saturday night, I met a man by the name of Ken Terrell, who was the owner of a Formula One team, who Jackie Stewart drove for. And we got into a lot of conversations about drawing cars. And he invited me to go to the Grand Prix in October to do drawings of the Terrell. At that time it was a Matra, but it was still his team, and Jackie Stewart was driving. So in October, who's going to say no to that? You know, I ended up down Watkins Glen again for the U.S. Grand Prix doing drawings of cars for... it was one of the greatest times, because I was young, I was naive, they liked me, and it wasn't pretentious. It was
He
fun.
wasn't a shy guy from the farm. I think all that. Had you moved a lot
Oh yeah, we moved all over the
So
place.
you were really had become pretty gregarious by that time in your life, and you made friends easily. You talked to these guys. Obviously, they
Oh,
liked
they
you.
because I always liked them.
Yeah, that's what.
it-
That's a that's a story that you read about in books.
Yeah,
I was
it-
kidding you when I say you're making this up because most people wouldn't believe that
Oh.
it could happen that way. So you had the fever by then.
Oh yeah, I was drawing cars all the
Oh.
time. I mean, I was drawing cars. Roger, when he left that Trans Am, he asked me to take some of the drawings. He said, "Can I take some?" And I was like, "Here, please. You know, you let me do this. You take them." You know. So he took, I think it was 3 or 4 drawings that I'd done, and he started using them in what they call media kits. And a media kit, for people who don't know, it's where if you work for the press or radio or such, and you want to get more information about that team, they've put together these kits that talk about the drivers, the cars, what races they ran, what positions they finished in, and it gives a good overall view of what the team did. It's also used to solicit sponsorship, and that's another key thing that these teams started looking at me to do, because I could do a painting and then use what they call a clear acetate, and I could change the sponsor on it.
Oh,
So they could
clever.
show them these nice paintings and say, "This is what the car will look like if you sponsor us." So I started doing that to help out some of the teams, and it just kept growing.
This is all before art school.
A lot of it was before art school, but I learned a lot of the tricks how to do things like the acetate. You know, I used to do individual paintings with the sponsor on it. And then when I went to school, I learned, well, you can use an acetate and it'll cut your time in half. And I was like, going, wow, this is pretty good.
Okay. Well, were most of these drawings that you did of the cars, were they just pen and ink?
No, I started with pen and ink. When I first did it was pencil, you know, because I couldn't carry around, you know, my paints. And back then, remember, I was only 17,
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of money. I could afford a pencil, but, you know,
Yeah.
paints were a little
So
bit more. So I started out with pencil, went to pen and ink, started doing color after a while. I used to paint with acrylics. Then I went into airbrushing. So, airbrushing is sweet.
Oh, that's a whole different ball game. Isn't
Oh,
it?
it is.
Oh,
It
it's
is.
wonderful. So now, what does your artwork now consist of mostly?
Automotive. I do.
All automotive.
Actually, I've done some work for the medical fields, oral implants. There's
Yeah.
a doctor locally, Dr. Kurt Klein.
Know him very well.
I worked with him and another doctor, Dr. Carl Misch, on producing a series of books with medical illustrations dealing with oral implants.
Oh.
So,
Who would ever guess? Your father's looking down saying, way to go, kid.
well, you
Yeah,
know, I hope
okay.
so. I hope so.
You got to talk to him when you sit in this chair. You know, maybe that's where the inspiration's coming from. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's mostly cars, but
Yeah.
occasionally, for your own satisfaction, do you still draw cars?
Yeah.
You
Oh, I
never
love
do a
doing
still
cars.
life or a
No,
landscape or a portrait or a...
I went away on vacation. First vacation in a long time. My wife Nancy and I and my son went to Nova Scotia. And we went to this real nice little resort. And I hadn't done watercolor since I met my wife, and we've been married 12 years. And she looked at me and said, you know, she's always said, "John, do a watercolor for me. Show me a watercolor." So I brought my watercolors with me. Heck, I own the store. I just went through, picked off some, put it in a bag, took it
Yeah.
up there. So I'm doing this painting. I set up, and they had the most beautiful rock formation, the waves crashing on it. So I started painting for her. So that's the first watercolor I've done in years, in still life. Not a still life, but a landscape. I can paint pretty much anything I set my mind to. If I see it or I think of it, I can paint it. I learned early on that you can do still lifes and landscapes, and you can frame them, and you can put them on the wall for sale, and they'll stay there for quite a while. But I learned early on that if you do a painting of a car, and it's a painting for the owner, you get paid a lot of money quickly, and it makes it worthwhile, because they don't argue about the price, because they want you to do the painting.
Got to keep the wolf away from the door.
You know, you got to also pay for the groceries.
Yeah. Now, I want to look around. Is this all your artwork on the walls here?
Yes.
All right. You want to talk about some of this stuff, John?
The first one, the one he's looking at right now, was done for Lionel Richie. That's another story.
Everything's got a story. John was worried when we started if he could talk for an hour and a half. I said, we don't have to worry about that.
I don't know.
Go, I want to hear the story. Come on.
Okay. If you look at the background in that painting, you'll see that there's a series of mountains. One of them is Mansfield, and the other one's Camel's Hump. Now, you probably have heard about the Pease grain bin at the waterfront and the oil. Well, that's Burlington, Vermont. I was in a bar in Burlington, and this man walked in. It was a Sunday morning, and I was eating brunch, and this man walked in. And I looked over, and I said, oh, my God. I leaned over, and I said, you know, you look just like Lionel Richie. Guy looks at me and goes,
He started saying,
I'm sorry,
right?
I'm not. You know, it's like, thank you, bud. And he continued eating, and I continued. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. And we got talking. And this is about 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. We're having brunch. And I just kept looking at this guy. I kept saying, God, he looks just like Lionel Richie. So we got talking, and they were doing the America's Cup on television. And we were watching it, and we got talking. I said, boy, I like to sail. I said, well, you like to sail? Have you ever crewed? And I said, well, I'm not really good, but, you know, I'm big and burly, and I can do the coffee grinder, which is the wench. Oh, sure. So I said, well, I have a sailboat down at this marina, and I won't say where it is. He said, you know, go on down. He gave me the code for the gate, and I said, cool. So figured I was going sailing at 3 o'clock. So I'm sitting there. I go down. I forget the code. I forget the number. So I'm standing there, and I'm like getting ready to push buttons. I didn't know what to do. And this guy comes up in the Jeep, and he's got some people in him. He said, hi. And, we got talking. I said, well, I'm going to crew on Bonsai. He goes, oh, so you're here with Lionel. And I'm like, so
come on.
We go in, and I'm standing there, and I walk up to the boat, and I look down, and I said, you are. And he said, God, it took you long enough to figure this out. You know, so then I find out that he's got a house, a little studio / house in Vermont. And I got to meet and deal with him, and then I did a couple paintings, and we found out that I was an artist, and he liked my work, and so I said, do me some paintings. So I did, and so he autographed that one for me and said, here. So that's how I have that one.
This is just a tiny slice of the life of John Allen. What a great story. Your stories are amazing and wonderful and almost too good to be true, but they all are, aren't they? Huh?
They are.
Oh, that's what a great story. Isn't that just terrific? Do you stay in touch?
I haven't, ever since I moved over here. I don't know what he's doing. I lost touch with him a long, long time ago, which is sad. You know, I know he does come back to Vermont, but I don't know when.
It's true of many of our lives, and you'll have a chance meeting and renew the friendship and start off again.
Oh, yeah.
It happens to me via email most of the time now. All right, next.
Next we have the Roger Penske. That's one of my, another thing is most of these are rejects. Seriously, they are.
Give me a break, John.
Well, the reason this one is a reject is because I accidentally put Murph on both helmets.
Oh, come on.
Okay, and Roger didn't want this one. So I said, okay, since you don't want it, could you have Rick autograph it? So this is autographed by Rick Mears. You can't see the Mears, but you can see the Rick because the Mears blends into the dark gray.
Yeah.
That was a piece that the other 3 that he did take were used in media kits.
They were.
You
You could have painted over the Murph, you know.
I could have. I didn't have time.
Oh.
Usually Roger would ask me to do three paintings, and I would do 4 or 5, and I would get a couple of extra ones, and those extra ones he'd either reject and he'd take one, and then he'd give me that one, and I'd get it autographed by the driver.
I love it. Is your signature always the same? Have
Pretty
you
much.
Changed it down through the years?
There's a little bit of a change. The J is always that way. The end of the Allen usually goes down instead of up now. But as you can see in the next painting,
Yeah.
the Honda, the McLaren, the E and the N now disappear and they go down.
It's amazing. I've interviewed many artists in my lifetime, and I've known it's true of anything that I draw. I finally settled on a signature. And my dad always used the open E at the end of his signature, and so I put that on the end of mine as just a kind of a tribute to my dad. Yeah. So you finally settled on one, and or do you do it a little bit different?
I just sign it. I don't even think about it anymore.
All right, next.
The McLaren. There was a Formula One driver, Ayrton Senna. He was one of the greats. A little stubborn, but one of the greats. World champion. He used to drive for McLaren. This painting is reject because it has dual calipers, front and rear, on the brakes, which was illegal for Formula One to do. Now, when I did this, I didn't know it was illegal, and they were using this car as a test car.
Yeah.
And so I just did it, not realizing that it was an illegal car, and the FIA, which is the governing body, would have said, that's illegal, you know, we're going to fine you. So that's why that one had to be buried.
Isn't that amazing?
It's a cutaway. It shows the Honda engine. Back then they were turbocharged. They had a 1.5 liter engine, which is about a 93 cubic inch engine that develops over 1,000 horsepower.
Think about it.
Just that car was amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. But that's how I did that one.
Has anybody ever let you drive one?
No, I'm too big. I'm too big. I actually did try and get into a Formula One once, and I couldn't even get my knees past. You know, even
Jackie Stewart's about 2 feet shorter than you are.
yeah, he's in the 5 foot. God, I've never really thought about that.
What a wonderful personality.
Oh, he's funny.
Oh, just the most amazing guy.
He is. He's funny. But he actually, Jackie Stewart returned to Formula One. He started a Formula One team called Stewart. And I was going to probably do work for him because it was affiliated with Ken Terrell. But I got an offer to do work another team, so I didn't do it.
But what wonderful people you've met. What great memories, huh?
Oh yeah, they're what fun too.
What great fun, yeah.
The following one, Marlboro Racing. I did this. That is Emerson Fittipaldi winning the Indianapolis 500 for Roger Penske.
Okay, Calvin's halfway up the stairs, so we can get some glare off the Marlboro Racing one.
I did that. That's Emerson Fittipaldi once again. He had just won the Indy 500. Emmo was going to be at the Syracuse New York State Fair, and I brought that down, and we missed each other, so I couldn't get it autographed. I tried, but didn't make it. So that sits there. But I do. He did want to autograph, so I actually have a photograph of that. Who is autographed by Emerson Fittipaldi?
Come on.
Oh, dead serious.
You should tag it right up.
Actually,
there.
I should. Never even thought of that.
Sure.
And I mean, that was a good piece.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
Every face in the crowd is unique too. I can
Oh
tell.
yeah, a lot of dots. I don't know if you can see the next one, and that's the next one is a wolf. That was done by Roger Taft. I can't take credit for that.
Roger did that.
Oh yeah, Roger is a good friend. Does phenomenal work. I've always promoted. I'll tell you a story. We just opened up. I don't know if you're getting
Yes,
this.
we are.
We just opened up, and Roger's a big man. He's about as tall as I am. He's a little bit bigger than I am. I wouldn't want to meet him in the alley. Walks in the store, said, "Hi, my name's Roger Taft." I said, "Nice to meet you." Says, "I'm somewhat of an artist. I do some dabbling with watercolor." I never knew who he was, and I said, "Well, bring your work in. I'd love to see your work, because I always like meeting new artists."
Oh, sure.
So this guy brought his work in, and I'm sitting there looking at this going, "You're not somewhat of an artist, you are an artist." I mean, his work was exquisite. I mean, I was just overcome with it. And I asked him, I said, "How much you charging for these things?" And he goes, "Well, I get a couple $100. I said, "Not now, you're getting like $400. His work is just unbelievable. I love artists.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Isn't it fun? And to encourage young people. This story, I hope, will do just that for some of the young people, and for the other people who haven't tried to draw anything or paint anything in years. Inspire you. Start for your own pleasure, and then, if you can make a couple of bucks along the way, that's great. But
Even if you can't, it's something that you can focus on, and I find it relaxing. Sometimes I find it frustrating though, when it doesn't go right, but
most of the people who know me know that I go to a lot of meetings. My life is full of meetings of one kind or another, and I never take notes at meetings. I only draw. Right. And I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drawings that I did at meetings, and I look back at them and say, I wonder what that guy was really talking about when he made that bizarre image.
You know what you should do? You should do a story on it.
Yeah, I guess I could. We've never featured any of my. If you ever saw my strange artwork, you'd say somewhat of an artist.
It's good.
All right, what have you got? You got a Lotus up there.
Yeah, once again, that was a Lotus T100. It was driven by Ayrton Senna again. I did a lot of work with Ayrton. Once again, I was doing a series of paintings called The Power Within, and it was based on different engines that powered either Formula One, NASCAR, and some of the others. With the fervor in the NASCAR, those sold. Everybody wanted the NASCAR. Few people took the Formula One, but I held on to that one because it has sentimental value. And once again, that was when the engines were 1.5 liter.
Yeah.
That's a V6.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The pistons are really tiny.
Oh, yeah.
But once again, it developed over 1,000 horsepower.
They do, those little pistons do some real cranking. Now, let me ask you this, just as an aside, with your fabulous interest in cars, do you have a collection of cars, or do you drive a Toyota Celica?
No, I drive a Ford Explorer.
Okay. No interest in buying old cars and fixing them, or?
I wish I had more money.
Join the club.
There are cars out there. I used to have Triumphs. I had a TR3, TR4, TR4A, TR250, TR6, and a GT6. Not all at the same time, though.
Yeah.
That's when I was single. But I've always liked Triumphs. But I do have one car that I is my love, but I will probably never have. But who knows? There's a car called the Caterham Super 7.
I don't know anything about that.
I'll tell you about it another time. It's just a beautiful. It's a beautiful car, and I've always wanted one. It's actually a kit car. It was designed by Colin Chaplin, who was the head of Lotus Racing. It holds the world's record for 0 to 60. It's a little 4-cylinder, very lightweight car.
I wonder what that would be, 3.0?
No, try 2.7 seconds.
Holy mackerel.
Out of a normally aspirated
mackerel.
4-cylinder engine. It holds the world's record. Just got broke. The world's record now is held by Chrysler. They came out with a four-tired motorcycle that has a Viper engine. It does in 2.5. It's called the Tomahawk. Yeah, it's like, but you can't ride. Nobody else can ride on it, so
like 900 horsepower.
Yeah,
it's like that Cadillac V16 with 1,000.
Oh God!
The new they call it the Cadillac 16 with 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, but they also it runs on a computer. If you listen to it, they talk about how it will disable certain cylinders, so it can actually run on 2 cylinders, and it gets 22 miles a gallon.
Did that. I had a 1980 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham. That's a long story, but it had a 4.68 engine in it.
Yeah.
Very unsuccessful.
Did you ever have problems with it?
Oh, it never ran right.
Oh, okay.
4.68 never. Before it was many other things because it was computerized and had a lot of wonderful features, but the 4.68 never worked. It had been disabled very early before I got it, so it just ran on its usual eight-cylinder, 6
or
7 6-liter engine. But yeah, so that's not at all a new idea. But very interesting, huh?
Yeah.
All right, let's look around. Now, you make models yourself?
I dabble in it. I'm not to the caliber of some of the individuals in the local IPMS club. Ron Vinn, Frank Berry. I mean, most of them are phenomenal. I have some weird ideas. It's like Ron. But I dabble.
You like rockets?
I love rockets. We got rockets in the store. We got them assembled, hanging there. That one's kind of, the one he's looking at now is made by Aerotech. That one will go almost a mile up. And it is one of the largest that you can buy without a license. Now with the Home Protection Act, we're kind of concerned because rockets may be outlawed.
No kidding.
No kidding. I just
Who would ever dream that home security would affect the hobby market?
Oh, I know.
Isn't that incredible?
So we're not sure what's going to happen to the rocket industry right now, because if you read the new bill that just went through, it may include rockets. So.
Who knows where we're going to go next? Do you have to change the battery, Calvin? Is that what you were telling me? Okay, let's do that, and we'll be right with you. I think it's really unfortunate that we don't record every word that we say, even when the camera's off. I think we should have another person hidden with a camera and just do the outtakes behind the scene. We have told so many wonderful stories. We found out who John's wife is and who her parents are, and learned that they're dear friends of ours. When we said that Joyce Papineau was in my house just a couple days ago, she let me borrow a book and I forgot to return it. I forget to put all these little sticky notes on books that people loan me. So she came to pick it up. She wasn't shy a bit.
Nope. Good woman.
And Pappy, what a wonderful guy he was, Pappy Papineau.
Yes.
Just great.
He had so many stories and so much to give. He was just
so interesting.
Yes.
Very, very colorful characters. And even though I haven't met your wife, I'm sure she's a product from that school, probably.
Same sense of humor.
I love it. I love it. All right, what do we got here, John?
This was once again from the series Power Within. It's the BMW power plant that powered the Formula One that was owned by Benetton, the clothing company. And once again, it's a turbocharged 4-cylinder that was a small little engine that developed a lot of power. These cars could go from 0 to 100 miles an hour and back down to 0 in under 9 seconds. Just an amazing car. Just amazing.
Now, when you let's do a little shop talk here. When you painted this, did you paint it from a photograph? Did you take a photograph and paint it, or how?
Sometimes I work from photographs because it's kind of hard to do a painting of a car that's going 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, true.
But some of them I did right on site. The Lotus I did on site. This one I did from a photograph that I took. I work from photographs a lot of times because the light doesn't change and you can see detail. I work from many photographs. I'll take one photograph that shows the entire object in the position that I want to do the painting of. But then a lot of times I'll get in and do close-ups of certain areas to see the detail. A lot of times the companies don't want you to see the detail. Formula One's very secretive. In fact, that's one of the problems with the Lotus, was the fact that I gave away too much information on the sensors in the rear suspension. So I had to blacken that area out. Remember, I told you a lot of these are rejects? Well, that's why, because there was too much information that was able to be seen, and they didn't want that. So in some cases, you have to hide things, but I usually would know where they were in the photographs. So to answer that question, yeah, I do work from photographs at time, because my memory is not that good.
Oh, nor would mine either. All right, what's next? What would you like to have us see?
The next one is, well, my latest, well, actually it's one that I'm working on, that I've finished working on. We have the Michael Schumacher won the 2002 Formula One championship. This is a painting I did.
That's beautiful. That's really good, John.
That's a limited edition.
I love it.
It shows Michael. He was coming around I think it was Nuremberg. It was the mobile curve at Nuremberg, and he was signifying that he just won his 5th world championship. And I actually saw this on television, saw him winning, saw this gesture, and decided that I wanted to paint it. And so I worked from photographs, and I had to convert this to the correct car. So I had to use one photograph to get one image, use another photograph to get the nuance to the Formula One. The exhaust stacks, the intake was changed, there were fins went from a 3-element to a 2-element. So there were a lot of little things that you had to know and see that had to be changed to make this correct. And it was one of my better pieces. And we sell them. So they go.
Do you
all
do
over.
prints of all your paintings?
No, this was the first one. Most of them are commissioned by the team, and now we're doing prints of the artwork and marketing that way. We sell them through the website. It's AutoImage, AutoImage.us. You can go online, see what we have available, and purchase, or just give us an email and let us know what you're thinking.
Well, you know, while we're standing here, and it's kind of a loaded question, but what, among all the things that you do, what gives you the most satisfaction?
Getting it right.
I never get it right.
Well, getting as close to right as I can. I've tried very hard, and as I said, knowing the nuance of the correct Formula One or the correct car, making sure that the detail is actually right. That's where I get the satisfaction. It's one of those times where I actually have patience. You know, sometimes I don't have patience for stupid people, but a lot of times when I'm doing my art, I can sit there and just lovingly work on detail. It's like Ronnie does. I mean, Ron just does detail, 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 and that's important.
You know, we've in this program, we love to illustrate what people have passion for. That's one of our favorite words. And if you didn't have a passion, you couldn't do it. I mean, what you do is not by rote, it's not mechanical. Yeah, you may have a job to do, but you still have a passion.
Oh yeah, you have to have the passion. You gotta
have that.
You gotta have heart.
Lots and miles and miles.
All right.
And don't ask me to sing today with this voice, that's for sure. So do you think that you'll always draw cars?
I'll draw anything. I draw landscapes for my wife on a napkin when we were at a diner one day. She looked across and said that was beautiful, so I drew a picture for her. I try and draw. I just find that I don't have enough time anymore. That's my problem. Is we were hoping when the store was started that we would have gotten enough support so I could have hired someone to run the register so I could go upstairs and paint. That was the whole idea of having this place. And it didn't quite work out that way. So for a while we were balancing out what we were going to do. Were we going to continue operating the store and paint, or just paint? You know, I love to paint, but I just don't have time anymore because I've got to do the ordering, I got to pay the bills. You know. So that detracts from the time, and that's the one drawback of this.
People who are watching this program might not have known that owning and operating a small business is a lot of work.
Oh,
it's not always the road to the golden ring.
Prosperity.
It's just going by and you can't quite grab it.
Right.
But there's a lot to be said for doing something that satisfies you personally.
That's one of the reasons I've stayed in this. My wife has asked me numerous times, why? And
That's fairly typical in my house every morning.
The reason is, by being here, I have met so many phenomenal people.
That should be obvious by this program.
I mean, Ron and some of the other individuals who build models, some of the other artists that come in, Roger Taft. I mean, I didn't know that man until he walked into my store. I have made so many friends, I've met so many people that's why I enjoy it. Yes, I miss doing my art. I wish I had more time in the day. You know, I think everybody does. But I've met so many good people in this area that just
we
make
try
it
to
worthwhile.
capture as many of those wonderful stories as we can and have. We've done some shows on wood carvers in this area, and there's some pretty neat folks.
They're artists. You know, everybody has an artistic part. It's just some express it better than others. But as you said, there are so many people in this area that are true artists, that have worked very hard. There are photographers, John Wayne Johnson,
Who is a good friend, and we've interviewed him and looked at his artwork on display and admire him and his wife, who works up at Clinton Community College, or did, is a wonderful actress and so on. And John's got a nice collection of old photographic equipment too, doesn't he?
In fact, we worked together putting in darkrooms here.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, John and I. See, there's another connection. I mean, I've tried, since we've been here, I've tried to support the arts so many ways. Putting in darkrooms, supplying students with their supplies at a good price so that they could afford to continue going to school. I remember when I was going to school, I used to have to make the decision whether I was going to eat lunch or buy paint. You know, and a lot of times, you know, at under 200 pounds and 6'5", I guess I didn't eat too many lunches, did I?
But you know what? I mean, that's for you. That was a throwaway statement, but for many artists, that is a decision you have to make.
I made that decision when I was in school. I used to have to make that decision, whether I was going to eat lunch or paint. Money was tight when you're a student, and I understand this, and that's why, you know, I have a soft spot in my heart for a lot of the students that come in and you know, tell me that, wow, you know, this is costing a lot more money than I thought it was, and I try and save them a little nickel here, a little dime. I try and show them a trick to do so that they can save some money, and that brings little joy, you know, makes it a little bit more worthwhile.
You know, I have to interject a few things because as you talk, my mind just goes a mile a minute. We've done a number of programs with other artists in the North Country. Some guys that have been around living through several generations of artists. One of them is Arto Monaco from the Land of Make-Believe, was a dear friend. And another one is Sid Couchy, who drew the Richie Rich comic book.
Yes.
And Calvin, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Calvin has been putting together a comic book to honor the memory of Tom Tyler, who was an old-time cowboy movie star from Witherby, Port Henry area. And most people down there have no idea who he was or the fact that he was born and brought up there. So Arto Monaco has painted the cover of this comic book. It's so cool. And Sid Cauchi spent endless hours doing the interior strips, and Calvin wrote the thing. And it's going to be so cool. Right now they're trying to sell advertising for it, and hopefully the thing will be published in a few months. And yes, Calvin is there in the book, and I'm there in character form in the book, and Sid and Arto and a few other folks, including Sid's wife Ruth, who is ruthless, right, in the book. So I think you would find that rather fascinating. Do you know both of those folks?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Yeah.
Sid is, in fact, Sid is a good friend of my wife's. I met Sid for the first time at Clark Foster out of Keysville, has a showing every year. And we were invited down, and that was the first time I met him, and Nancy's known him for a long time, so they were just...
Well, he and Ruth are just very special people, as are many of our friends. We tend to connect with people that are neat people, and they are. And Arto's just, he's very special. We've done, I don't know how many shows with Arto now, five shows.
Plus.
5+, including one with Sid and Arto, where we got together and just talked about this comic book. But Arto Monaco is a guy you just can't believe. You talk about model making.
Oh, I know.
The things that this man has made and forgotten about are absolutely incredible.
Yes.
He did an exact replica of R2-D2 that went through one of his many floods in Ausable, or up in Upper J, and he recovered it from the top of a tree. And we're going through, and everything is, I got to fix that thing up. I got to, and he has this little museum, as he calls it, for special people like us. I looked at this R2-D2 that he made. Unbelievable.
Yes.
The man has designed something like 2,000 toys and games. And he's got all the prototypes and some of the finished ones just hanging in places. And I did that for this company or that company way back when. He's been given up for dead for the last 20 years, and he takes a licking, and he
Keeps on ticking. Yep.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy and a nice guy. It's people who are talented that way are indeed special people. That's why it was such a pleasure when Calvin said we're coming down here today. What's in the future for?
Well, I'm doing some work for NASCAR now. Everybody knows what NASCAR is. I've been commissioned to do some covers for books and periodicals, and it's my first venture into NASCAR. I've mainly dealt with kart, Formula One, manufacturing, endurance racing. Now I'm getting into NASCAR. Popular. There's such a demand for it.
That's an understatement.
There's such a demand for it that a lot of the artists that were doing NASCAR are just so inundated that they're pulling in the artists from other venues to help them out and to bring new blood into it, because there's Bass, he's been doing it for years, and now they're looking for new art to be brought in. So now I'm doing covers for NASCAR, and still doing more for Formula One. I've got a piece that I just started. I can go get it just a second.
Yeah, go get it. We'll take your time. Look at this interesting display right here.
Soon to be in Calvin's home.
So soon to be in Calvin's home. Calvin fell in love with this right away. Talk about this layout here. This is part of a bunk bed. I didn't realize that until you said that.
My son always wanted a train set, and he has a small bedroom, and we couldn't figure out. We thought, well, we'd build one that went underneath his bed and he could pull it out. Well, his bed was only about, I'd say, not even 4 feet wide by 76 inches, and couldn't do it because of trip over it. So I decided to go up. So I built a bunk bed for him, built the sides, built the base for the train, built the, you can't see it, it's not here, but there's a part that goes up here where he used to sleep. He used to sleep over the top of this for 3 years. And when we opened up the store, he decided that it would be a good piece to take to the store to show people what you can do when you want to build something for railroad. Plus, he didn't like going up and down the ladder. He got tired of that. So we brought it down here. We've had it here since we opened. There's a part of the reason we were selling it was my son likes to mow lawns. He was mowing lawns, make a little extra money. He makes these wind chimes.
Oh, yeah.
And when we first opened the store, he couldn't understand how we were going to make money. And so I had him make wind chimes. And I bought them from him for $5. And then we retail them for $9.99. Now this whole thing is to be covered with them. People love them. They make a great sound.
Oh, I love, I'm
And
the
they're
biggest fan in the world, yeah.
and they're from ski poles from Whiteface Mountain.
That amazing.
So I bought them for $5 from him, and I was selling them for $9.99. So he comes in the store and he looks at it and goes, "Dad, you're selling for $9.99. I want my money." So he didn't understand that I was making money on him working. So in fact, he's got to do more of those because he wants to make more money. But back to the reason he's trying to sell this is he wanted to contribute in buying a snowblower so that he could go about doing snowblowing on our neighbors so that he could make extra money.
Sure.
So he got the idea he wanted to sell it. So, we don't have room in the new store for it, and it's up for sale.
It's going to be going to Calvin's house. I could tell. I saw that gleam in his eye. I've seen it before, but not for a long time.
Oh, that's a fun thing.
Usually there's a woman involved.
Yeah. Okay, now, what was the other project? Let me get out of Calvin's way here. Talk about this.
We're back to Formula One. This is a piece I'm working on right now. It shows Michael Schumacher and Brunello, first and second. The title of the painting is called 1 and 2. It shows how they finished in the World Championship. It's an unusual view. You're looking down on it instead of coming at you or from the side.
Very interesting.
I like trying to find the unusual shit.
This is really cool. Have you done anything from this perspective before? Look at
I have in the past, but not to this point. Not including individuals.
It's so cool. I love it.
I had to think. The first guy at the top, he's applauding. The other guy's shaking the fist, telling "attaboy." You got guys giving the thumbs up and the waving. The individual down the very bottom corner's got a camera and he's taking a photograph.
Yeah, I love it.
Up here in the very top is a checkered flag indicating the win.
1 and 2, huh?
1 and 2. So that's a piece I'm working on right now, and never ends.
Well, hopefully it never ends.
Yeah.
Hopefully it never ends.
I hope to be doing it more. At our new location, I hope we will be doing it more. I've got a nice little area to work. If we do well up there, I'll be in the back painting.
Well, you can always hope for the best and then take whatever life deals you, right?
Yeah.
And again, they started moving.
Oh, yes. In the beginning of our program, for those of you, it's hard for me to believe that people don't turn this on and just get glued to the television set and watch the whole hour and a half from beginning to end. But sometimes they don't. And that's why each new program is repeated many times on your local public access station. And we do want to take a moment to give a fervent thanks to all of our regular viewers and those people who might have just joined us for the first time. It's a labor of love that Calvin and I do, just like many things that you do have been a labor of love. We hoped when we started this that we'd become millionaires, and I don't know if we made our first dollar yet, but if we do, we'll tack it on the end of the camera. But it is a pleasure. It's extremely satisfying to meet people like you and to draw a picture of this North Country, the area we live in, based on the programs that we've done.
Yeah.
We've done a series on Lake Champlain lighthouses, classic each one of itself. We've done a lot of historical perspectives in neighborhoods, and so that's why it's such a kick. Now, we said at the outset of this program You are moving from 82, this is 82 Margaret Street.
Correct.
Into Plattsburgh Plaza. What did you say was in that space before?
Dawn by the River. She passed away,
Oh,
and
yes,
it
yes,
came open,
yes.
regretfully. It's down by Michigan's Plus, CNC Beauty Salon, next to the General Trading Post, right in there. We'll be moving in. We're moving in now. I'm painting and working in the mornings and in the evenings to get it ready for the big move. And we hope people will come there. We love to meet people. We love to visit. We love to talk about art, model building, hobbies, railroad.
It's all a package, isn't it? It's a package.
It is. The combination of art and hobby was a natural. It fell together, and we thoroughly enjoy doing all these things. If I can just find more time.
Well, that's just, that defines all of our lives, if I can just find more time. I mean, I'm at a stage of my life where I should be sitting and rocking, and if I did, I'd try to figure out how to move the rocking chair from place to place as I rocked, because, you just can't. You can't sit there.
Don't stop.
I mean, use Arto Monaco as a perfect example. The man could have rested on his laurels 50 years ago, and his drawings, his paintings are as fresh and youthful and energetic and humorous today as they were when he first started doing them. And that's the name
Keeps
of the
them
game.
alive.
It is.
It does.
It feeds you. When you talk about substituting paint for lunch, it does feed you. That kind of passion does feed you. You've talked about your childhood, your adult life, your schooling, your teaching, your marriage, your family, your parents, your neighborhoods. You haven't talked about writing a book. Have you written any art books, or do you have any?
No.
You think you might, because
English was my favorite subject.
But your artwork would speak for itself, and you can have somebody else write the captions.
I don't.
You could do
know.
a coffee table book of just your cars right now.
I probably could. I don't know. I've never thought about it.
You haven't thought of writing? This is amazing.
No.
You could be.
I got
You
too
could
many things on my
collaborate with your
plate right
talented
now.
wife, and
Yeah, she is talented.
well,
But-
who knows? Maybe that's something for
Something down the future.
Yeah.
Illustrated Sisters book.
Wait until I retire.
Huh?
Illustrated Sisters book.
Illustrate your sister's book.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Or my brother also likes to. He's very artistic and
Really?
likes to write. Yes. So
Great for a customer.
All right, let's stop for a moment. Nancy likes to take pictures.
Nancy's very good at taking photographs.
Look at this shot.
Yep. She loves to take photographs when we go hiking, camping, skiing. She has some of the best photographs of the Adirondacks. And it's just because we happen to be there at the right time. Here's one of my wife's.
Boy, that's beautiful.
Oh, it
Absolutely.
is.
Look at the cloud formations and the whole thing. It's actually perfect composition, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's beautiful.
See, she's even talented. You know,
Even talented.
even
huh?
talented.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. She's a very talented person. As I said, talent is in the eye.
Are you you're going to sell her work in your new store, or maybe frame a
Why?
few more?
You know, if we can find someone, yeah, I'll sell anything.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everything's up for sale, but I keep it here because it's something that she did, and
Very special.
yeah, she has one that I can't. We were canoeing, and it's such a great photograph because the reflection in the water is exactly the same as in the sky.
I know.
The only way you can tell which is up and down is because the point in the canoe, the very tip of the canoe is showing, and that's the only way you can tell which is up and down.
That kind of image has always fascinated me. Now
Yeah.
that you mention that, I can
Yeah.
almost remember every picture I've seen with a reflection like that. And
Yep.
you try to say, okay, there it is. There's
There it
that
is.
tree down there.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
it was a good photograph.
Let's talk about trains. We forgot to mention trains.
Oh, I have an early piece of mine that one of my favorites is the train. It's 4 sections. It's in dots. Those are dots you're looking at.
Come on.
Dead serious. It's called steppling or pointillism. It's
Yeah.
just using a series of black dots to create
That other
shadow.
artist described that for us, and I never realized what that was all about.
Each panel is about 200 hours.
You have to be kidding.
No. You want to talk about patience?
I want to know why you did it.
I wanted to see if I could do something along those lines to depict a mechanical. You ask if I did anything other than cars. Well, yeah, I do trains. I also did a painting a long time ago of a paver because I like the handles on the paver. It's very mechanical, very.
You and Ron Venn. He
Oh, I
loves
know.
those mechanical.
Oh, yeah.
things, yeah.
So it has to be hung an inch and a half apart to make the circles exact. If you look
Yeah.
between the second and third, you'll notice the wheel, if it's closer, will be an oval. If it's 1.5, it's exactly a circle. So once again, it has to be hung an inch and a half apart.
When did you do it, John?
Oh God, that was back in the 80s.
Really? Almost
yeah,
20
when I
years
was at
ago?
UVM.
No kidding.
I did that when I was at UVM.
That's incredible. Has anybody offered to?
No.
Let me see. 2, 4, 6, 800 hours at $1 an hour.
There you go. That's a true point of the life of an artist.
Why?
Is that yours?
Yeah, that's another piece I did. That was cover for Canadian Grand Prix for the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. That is a painting of Gilles. It's not one of my best, but when it's brought down to the size of the program, it tightens it up, so it looks a lot better.
Who would ever guess that the size of the picture would make it better or worse? Come on, John.
Well, that's part of being a graphic
But
illustrator.
it's true, because when we were doing the interview with Mr. Manette, the car, he does the trading cards.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do a full-size painting for the trading card. It'll look different, of course, at that size.
Right.
And he does he has a company who produces his work in postcard size.
Right.
It helps to promote it, and it is completely different depending on how big or small it is.
Exactly.
Not to mention that the colors change, which I found exasperating. I couldn't imagine doing a painting and having a smaller edition of it come out where the lady's dress was a different color. That didn't seem to bother him a bit because he was selling them,
That's it.
He just showed me the money. Never
Show it.
mind if it's green or chartreuse. Huh?
Well, some ways, you do try and hold color right. I have to with the automotive because they're looking at the
that
color.
would be very critical. In
Yep.
this case, I just found that really, really fascinating. All right, let's talk about the website. Let's move in behind the scenes here. Very interesting. When did you start the website?
Well, we decided we were going to start producing prints, and we needed a way of marketing it to the world. And what I did was I came home from vacation, said I have to design a website, and I have to get it up on the internet. So I sat down and I pulled out a book that said, building a website for idiots, and pulled out a program called Front Page and just started building it. And got it going, and boy, I'll tell you, then I learned all the things behind it. They have these things called meta tags and all this stuff that the search engines go to. Well, I didn't know anything about them, so I had to crash course. Everybody I knew that was into computers, we sat and talked to. So I designed my own web page. It's basically just a quick page on myself, where I went to school. If you click on paintings, takes a long time.
Well, graphics do take a long time, even on even
Yeah.
on fast machines.
But it gives a overview of what I have done.
Do you get a lot of hits on the website?
Yeah, we do actually. I should go back and look at it. I haven't looked at it in a while. We do get hits from all over the world where you get responses. That's how I got involved with doing NASCAR. Is the individual visited the website, saw my work, liked my work, contacted me, and asked me if I could produce covers to books for NASCAR. And it was because he viewed my work on the web. So, in a roundabout way, it does show.
These look familiar.
Yeah, these look familiar. You've seen them before. They're some of my better pieces. The only ones I don't think you saw was the Ayrton Senna.
Yeah.
And then there's the ant that I did for General Electric. You asked if I did anything unusual. I just totally forgot about my ant. It's something that I was brought in by General Electric when I was over at UVM. They knew that I had a warped sense of humor. And they needed to do a cover of a book that they were sending to the Pentagon that indicated what weapon systems, where their mindset was for the future. Now, General Electric at that time, now it's General Dynamics, produced the minigun, the Vulcan, which is used in most of your fighter aircraft. So I did a painting of an ant that has two miniguns, one in each section of the mandible. The mandible is the little pincing part.
Yes.
And if you spin around quick, the ant's over there on the floor.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let me
I
just watch.
completely forgot about
Oh, I love it.
that.
and
That's
that's
the
the-
ant.
Isn't that neat?
That is what they used on a cover. Now, there are blueprints to that. I had one engineer and 3 draftsmen working with me on this project. It's able to fly in the center part of the body. There are 2 panels on each side that would open up. There's a turbofan in there that gives it lift. At the end of each foot is a fan for direction. But if you look carefully in the head of it, the mandible, you'll see the miniguns produced by General Electric at that time. Now it's General Dynamics. So that was, as you said, did you do anything different? Well,
About a
no.
flight of fancy.
It's like, yeah, I do something different once in a while. As you can see, there's a guy by the foot giving thumbs up in full cami.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really unique. And
And the
when
sand
did
dunes.
you do that one? A long time ago?
That was done when I was at UVM also. That was back in the 80s. Late
Let's say
80s.
USMC.
Yeah, U.S. Marine Corps. I actually wanted to have it chrome because my theory was the futuristic weapons were going to be light, like a laser. And I kept arguing, saying that it should be chrome because chrome bounces light. So it'd be like light, laser hitting a mirror, so it'd be reflected. But they wanted it to be red for the Marine Corps. So that's what I did.
That's amazing.
And
What, Calvin?
The other one, I haven't seen that other print.
the other one, that's not a print. These are all originals, young man. No, it's okay. It's okay. Well, I have people come in and say, "Where'd you get this print?" And it's not a print. It's a real piece. Now, that is the last painting that was done of Ayrton Senna. That was 1994. He died that year in an accident. He was once again one of the great drivers, phenomenal, and that was done for Williams, Team Williams, which he drove for, powered by a Renault engine, and that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's real neat. It's
Detailing.
such a sad story, you know.
Yes.
Gosh, how many of our favorites have we lost that way? But that's the nature of the business, you know.
Yeah, they love the racing, and that's what they go for.
Exactly right.
So.
What is there any other aspect of your life and your career that you'd like the North Country to know before we wrap this up, John? This has been such a fascinating time this morning.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, we talked about your future and your crystal ball. Of course, you'd love to have your new store become an instant and long-term success.
I think everybody would like that.
Is your son following any of your own aspirations? Or?
No, he follows his mother. He's a skier. He likes to be outdoors. He loves to ski.
It's not a bad thing.
Nope, not up here in the North Country. I mean, that's why we're here. He's like his mother, good skiers. So
that's great.
You know, I sort of go off on my own and just putter and ski down, you know, and the two of them take off and they go up to the top and ski from the top of the world. So
that's a wonderful thing.
I don't know if Paul will ever have the desire. I know he's happy with skiing, so I let him do what he wants to do.
And who knows, you know, doors open up for us.
Yeah, but he wants to be an engineer and a pilot.
Engineer and a pilot.
So, you know.
Sometimes those early ideas don't always pan out. I was going to be a civil engineer, and I ended up in the radio business for 100 years.
See, but we're lucky, aren't we?
We're lucky. I'm lucky to be standing here at my age. John Allen, this has been an extreme pleasure for me, as I hope you've gathered. I love your stories. I love your art. And I know whatever you do, it'll be successful. And if it pleases you, who cares about the rest of the world?
I know, but, you know, I care.
Yeah, I know. I hope it all does work. I thank you for touching the lives of other people through this program, but through what you do, through your teaching. And in a sense, you're teaching every time some young artist comes in and talks to you. And you impart some of your knowledge and that tremendous wisdom and good humor of yours.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I wish you good health and long life for you and your family and your business, and can't wait till we talk to you again. You know, after you move, maybe there'll be a chapter 2 and 3.
There you go. Come on up.
We've been known to do addendums.
Stop in.
Oh, we'll do that for sure. John, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very
Hi
much.
to Nancy and to Joyce, if she's watching, saying, "Oh, they're talking about me." I think that's so neat.
She'll call me up and say, "John, I saw you on television."
Oh, golly. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.
Sorry about this. We're going to see.
I lied, but I've lied before. When I say we're going to be back for Chapter 2, it's quicker than you think. I haven't even had a chance to have a cup of coffee in between times. But as we're walking out the door, John brings out a portfolio saying, have you ever heard of Ronald Reagan? Yes, we've heard of Ronald Reagan. He shows us a piece of artwork that hung in the White House when he was first elected in 1981. For how many years?
It hung in the Oval Office. If you saw a video of him, it was on the left side. I think it was the left side, yeah. Behind his desk in the Oval Office. The original we sent down, and he hung it in the Oval Office. It was unusual, but this is a copy. It's a limited edition. We sat there watching television, coloring in the jelly beans one by one.
From 100 copies.
From 100 copies. This is an artist proof. We sent a letter. We got a thank you from Nancy and Ronald Reagan when it was sent down. This is when I was at the University of Vermont. This is one of the key pieces. Another one is...
Well, wait a minute. What inspired... of course, we know about the jelly beans.
Well,
and this picture jumped into your head, and I think I'll draw that.
Yeah, I sat there and
I
said...
just want you to know how the mind of an artist works.
Wouldn't it be kind of cute to have the dome of the Capitol building be at a tilt and jelly beans just pouring out of the Capitol building, and for a while that's all everybody talked about was his jelly beans.
Oh, of course.
And so I carried that theme into a drawing, and we produced it into a limited edition, and there we go.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's absolutely charming.
Yeah.
What a connection with really a super guy. And, you know, we all... It brought a certain awareness to many of us about Alzheimer's, and And we talk about it all the time, and we know about the wonderful dedication of his wife,
Yes.
who refuses to leave him for more than 1 or 2 nights in a row because she insists on being by his side.
Yes.
So it's an incredible love story, among other things.
Yep,
You know?
it is.
Not to mention a really powerful time in our nation's history, and
Well,
yada,
hopefully,
yada, yada, you know?
yeah, hopefully this will be in the Reagan Museum, the library, when they finally put it up. Hopefully, you know, I'll see it out there someday.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, come on, turn pages here. We got more neat stuff.
Curtis
here.
Wheeler, the head of the Guardian Angels.
Yeah.
This was his official poster, and still is, as far as I know. I've seen it on television a couple places.
I have too, and never made the connection until right
Well-
now. I'm so honored to see it. I think that's so neat.
Yeah.
What a story, huh?
I did this in 1983. He autographed it and uses it today. Another one is, there was a contest years ago that depicted racing of the future. This is one of my, I love this one. Can anybody figure out what's powering this race car?
I love it.
Well, let's see. We have 3 Mile Island as one of the sponsors. 92 is the weight on the periodic chart. If anybody's good at science, they'll know that this is powered by a nuclear reactor. Notice it says caution and has the warning. And also Hershey's milk chocolate, 3 Mile Island. This
I love it.
It's just an unusual sense of humor once in a while.
Yeah, that's good.
We were talking about, I don't know if I have it. This is just a pile of the art, but I'm trying. Remember, we were talking about media kits. Now, sometimes, and I don't think I have it here. Doesn't that go to figure? Edit that out of there.
No.
I used to have the media kit, but I no longer have it here. Let's continue.
Yeah, we'll take your word for it.
These are just some of the works. Here's the Ira Allen Chapel in blueprint. These were some handbooks that they used at the University of Vermont for the students when they came in. Some of these I designed, layout, took the photograph here of this one showing that there weren't any students in the building, so the UVM fund. I did a lot of the drawings of the buildings back then. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's beautiful.
Oh, once again, cars.
Oh,
This is Jackie Stewart and Terrell.
Yep.
This unframed, this little block, it was the Jetan. It was a French attempt at Formula One, as we know that they weren't good at anything.
Especially poignant comment these days.
Some covers, you know, I drew the telephone. This is hand drawn, putting detail in. Fundraisers, letterhead, did a drawing for basic rehabilitation. Here's a good one for you. You know, We the People is a very, very good document. You know, we all know that, but this is Declaration, Independence. But my name sits right here. It says John C. Allen from the, see?
Isn't
Now, how many?
Isn't
I
it
snuck it in
amazing
there.
how that got in there?
At
At least they didn't say Kilroy.
I've done work for the Fleming Museum in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. I've done work for the Gerald Ford Library in Michigan. Fleming Museum, all over. Just series of financial aid. Made it look like a $100 bill in a puzzle. How are we going to raise that kind of money?
Oh, that's cool.
The operating budget for the University of Vermont. That was a cover for them. This dealt with driving while drunk. If you take it and you cut it out, it makes a box. Each one of these back then was the sentence that you got. El Salvador, a first offense is the last execution by firing squad. For DWI, No joke.
I would love to get a copy of that for the. We have a Stop DWI program here in Clinton County that we follow very carefully, and as our viewers know, I work as a crime victims advocate, so I work with a lot of victims of drunk driving, and I've never seen this before, and I'm very, very impressed with this.
This is unusual.
Oh.
In Malaysia, the driver is jailed, and if he or she is married, the spouse is jailed too.
Isn't that amazing?
I can't remember what country it is, but one of them, they're driven 20 miles out of the city and are forced to walk back.
Did you do this for an actual campaign? Or
Yeah, yes. Don't get boxed in. There's
a
no way
national
out.
campaign or a Vermont
No,
campaign?
the Vermont campaign. It was through the university.
Oh, wow.
Did work for Vermont Transit. This is called a mock-up, and this is the final product.
I see.
That was back in 1987. I did the design work, the layout, the inside. Did work for Abarth, which is a company that dealt with Fiat racing, and also Forza. And long time ago, before it was called Nissan, I did artwork for Datsun.
Yeah,
So-
we're old enough to remember Datsuns. Isn't
But
that amazing?
I did artwork for them. And remember when I said I have that piece that was autographed by Emerson Fittipaldi?
Yes.
Well, this
Yeah,
is
you got
it.
it. You got to have to put it up there.
That is autographed by Emo. It was done out at Mid-Ohio because I couldn't bring the artwork with me, so we photographed the artwork
That's okay.
and laughed about
That's
it.
called provenance. 100 years from now, that'll make it worth a lot more money.
Yep.
There's your trains.
There's my trains. This is a piece that I did for another Power Within.
Yep.
This was the McLaren, autographed by Alain Prost. My drafting table that I built.
Oh, you built it?
Yeah, I found I could build one for $600, or I could buy one for $1,500.
What
So
is
I
that,
built
an old
this.
PA speaker? What is that?
No, that's actually babinga. That's
Oh,
a special wood.
It
It's
looked
called
like
firewood
it
out of
looked like
Africa.
A speaker. Is it really?
Yeah, it's called firewood. It's very, very dense wood, and it looks like a rising sun. So that's why I
Wow,
use that.
Fascinating.
It's motorized. It's a light table.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, I just continue to do, more and more. Living on campus. These are mock-ups. How to install a boiler. I was going to do a book on that.
How to
More-
install a boiler? Everybody should have one.
More just little bits and pieces that I did. Oh, I designed covers for a while I was hired as a consultant to ARC to
Really?
help promote their products and find new.
Oh, sure. We've done shows with them.
Yeah, I was the one who designed the packaging for their new choice, feminine hygiene products used, sold.
Wonderful, yeah.
So I designed that. I found contracts for them and helped them out. And Rich Minogue was there, and I was a consultant doing that.
Man of many facets.
Yeah, well,
A
try to-
jewel of many facets.
Try to keep the money coming
Yeah.
in. But anyway,
Well, we've just blown chapter 2 right here. John, thanks again for having us here. Thank
You're
you all
welcome.
for watching. You see, when you went out to get another cup of coffee, we did another 20 minutes. Have a
Sorry
great
about that.
have a great day, everybody.